doing up here?
We had to go to the bathroom.
Welcome to Darkened Streams, wherein I examine every single one of the 327 episodes of Supernatural, or however many YouTube and the CW allow before shutting me down. What did we learn from the last episode? Firstly, demon lore is subject to change. The show used to be open to visual effects that weren't glowing eyeballs and Hadoukens. Dean Winchester, Mr. Perfect, Mr. Hot Shit, Mr. I Love You, oh my god, is afraid of flying, giving a canon reason for his driving everywhere. And finally, that sometimes when your dad stops talking to you, it's not because he's dead. Season 1, Episode 5, titled Bloody Mary, was one of 2 episodes directed by Peter Ellis, an older gentleman that directed a lot of shows in the 80s and 90s like Highlander and Hercules, The Legendary Journeys. Series creator Eric Kripke is back writing, so you can all breathe a sigh of relief, as the show's father, at least, has returned for the time being. For Sam and Dean, they're back wandering the US looking for theirs. You can also breathe a sigh of relief that we once again have a Monster of the Week episode. Savor them. Hang on to the pure joy of a self-contained story with a beginning, middle, and end. In the cold open, a bunch of tween girls play Truth or Dare, culminating in one of them, Lily, being dared to partake in a well-known urban legend where you go into a darkened room and say Bloody Mary into a mirror 3 times, and then a ghost named... Wait, I've said it twice so far? Okay, well, a ghost shows up, and by this show's rules, it scratches your eyes out. Or in this case, Lily's father's eyes. This opening is another circumstance where the show either intentionally or just by osmosis mirrors its true inspiration, specifically the X-Files episode Syzygy, a truly delightful and weird episode of that show.
1 Bloody Mary, 2 Bloody Mary, 3 Bloody Mary, 4 Bloody Mary.
I mean, they all kind of are. That's a good show. We should just do that show instead.
Sure, fine. Whatever.
Back on the road, Sam is still fucked up about Jessica, and we're all still pretending that's not a concern. Trauma. So weird. This is one of the first times they bypass the whole finding out about the case segment, which is for the best. I kind of like when they just show up fully briefed on a hunt, like they're already going to the first step of it. We get a single shot of the newspaper informing the death of Lily's father, and that's weird enough for the boys to look into it. This is admittedly a pretty goofy episode. It's got some bad acting. Well, I don't want to say bad acting. It's CW acting, which is a noteworthy difference that I couldn't actually explain.
Yeah, okay, they were cute, but still, do you think something could have happened to Donna's dad?
Could take a guess and say yeah. And the premise of this episode being about you-know-who is obviously really dumb, but the writing on it, I think, is noticeably improved, and it's right off the bat full of a lot of fun interactions that showcase the relationship between Sam and Dean. When they show up to get a look at the cadaver, they try to, on the fly, pass themselves off as med students. Dean sort of sneaks a glance at a name on someone's desk, but finds it hard to pronounce, so he kind of fucks up the whole charade.
Oh, Dr. Fiklovich didn't tell you?
I love when Dad's here to steer the boat. It's a pretty dialogue-heavy episode in comparison to the last one. There isn't as much zooming around the country and punching people in the face. It plays out more like a murder investigation, lots of interview scenes and arguing in the car. It's a nice change of pace. From what they can tell, there are no indicators as to what killed this man, but his eyes and brain are practically liquefied. Sam isn't convinced it's their kind of job, but they decide to play it safe and visit the daughters of the victim at a memorial service they're holding for him, which seems like insensitive timing, but I guess it pays off because they're all there and they do learn that Lily said the thing in the mirror, which is interesting because Sam and Dean know that urban legend and they know it to be just an urban legend, but for some reason it seems to be real in Toledo. I'm curious if at this point in the writing of the show they knew that this world included many other hunters, many other people doing the same thing as Sam and Dean, because there are a couple of lines in this episode that seem to imply that their dad was the only one putting all this supernatural shit together.
Dad ever find any evidence that it was a real thing?
Not that I know of. How many times in Dad's long and varied career has it actually been a freak medical thing? And not some sign of awful supernatural death.
The boys get caught snooping around by Charlie. Not that Charlie. We got some time before that happens. Charlie is a friend of Lily's older sister, Donna. I'm probably gonna mix up their names because they have a terrible memory when it comes to red shirts. But they go with the truth, letting her know that they just want to get to the bottom of why this guy's eyeballs exploded. Charlie later has a phone call with her shitty friend Jill, who mocks Lily's story and does the mirror thing just to fuck with her, and promptly suffers the same fate. That's an unintentionally interesting thing with this episode's monster, is that the threat isn't so much Mary as it is idiots that voluntarily summon her. There are a few things I think really work in this episode. One is that I get to enjoy when there was a lot more fringe detective work incorporated in Hunts. It's the first appearance of the device. They also whip out two other classic ghost hunting gadgets, a night vision camera, and they scan the back of the next victim's mirror with a black light to find bloody handprints and the name Gary Bryman. Looking up the name reveals a pattern in that the victims have all been people responsible for someone's death and have kept it a secret. Jill, for instance, killed a little boy in a hit and run. I knew I didn't trust her. The second she put on Fall Out Boy, I was like, yep, this person has killed a child. Back at the motel, Dean does something that they do for the whole run of the series as far as I can recall. Hack the FBI and NSA to find leads. That's when they're really grasping for any excuse to expedite the hunt. They just pull it off the internet. At least they showed them attempting to go to a library. They find a mysterious death case involving a woman named Mary Worthington, whose unsolved death matches the Bloody Mary legend. Duh. Oh, fuck. Guys? Nothing's happening. She's supposed to be here to explode my fucking eyes. Now I gotta do it myself. The boys theorize that Mary may have been able to transfer her soul into a mirror and has been enacting revenge on those who have also gotten away with murder, bringing up some other common superstitions about mirrors, like the need to cover them when someone dies in a home, as to not trap their souls within it. They try to get more information from Donna, but she's the worst. She's a bad sister and a bad friend. She dooms Charlie by saying the Mary thing into the mirror, which, since I guess she's never felt guilty in her entire life, which, good for you, gets transferred to Charlie, who freaks the fuck out. There is a not too intrusive effort to develop Sam. What's under that haircut? What does Sam want? Why is he so boring all the time? We get a better look at how his nightmares of Jess have been a constant burden since the pilot episode. And it's a little cheesy, but it's well depicted. It's also roped into the episode's hunt when he suggests that he could be used to lure out Mary, as he holds himself responsible for Jess's death. Also, very important, this episode begins a long tradition, maybe the most used narrative crutch the show has to offer, a good old juicy secret. Sam alludes to the fact that he knows more about Jess's death than he let on, and doesn't want to share the information with Dean.
What are you talking about?
Well, it wouldn't really be a secret if I told you, would it?
Was my brother a goddamn murderer? Sammy! Thankfully, we get clued in on it because of Mary's guilt trip to Sam in the mirror. We learn that Sam had these reoccurring dreams of Jess's death long before she actually died, but never brought them up. I mean, I know within the show Sam has to beat himself up for that, but like, who gives a shit about your dreams? It doesn't matter if they're reoccurring. My first thought wouldn't be, maybe I'm predicting the future. Otherwise, I would have taken part in way more funeral processions on the moon. Anyway, Sam is able to get Mary to show up in the original mirror she died in front of, and Dean smashes it. But all this does is allow her to leave the mirror. Oh yeah, if you haven't noticed, it's 2005. Season 1's Japanese influence showing a little too much, but I think it's made up for by the creative visual effect of her melting into glass after Dean reverts her guilt power right back at her. I'm a big proponent of trying something rather than nothing with this show, if you couldn't tell so far. Overall, I think this one is a bit of a mixed bag. There's a lot that is not working with it, and a lot that hasn't aged well. The appearance of Mary doesn't look great. It looks like a straight up relic, an inferior imitation of something very specific. I mean, the whole wet corpse girl trope is still a powerful image, so it's a shame they added the silly voiceover effect on her. You killed them. And like, she's barely even dirty. She looks lovely. I'm not scared of you when you're not crawling around like a weirdo. But there are some standout things. There are plenty of good scenes between the brothers. Their chemistry is on fire. Dean going dad mode on Sam for his guilt is pretty sweet.
I don't blame you.
Well, you shouldn't blame yourself, because there's nothing you could have done.
Well, you could have been honest with your girlfriend and been like, Babe? Well, for starters, every supernatural thing you've ever heard of is real, and I've probably killed most of them with my dad and much cooler brother. But also, when I was a baby, there was a demon man that stood over me, and then he set my mom on fire. And I've been having dreams for like the past couple months that the exact same thing is gonna happen to you. And I don't know if that's possible, but it's a demon, and anything else in the world is possible. So it's very likely could be possible, and I just thought you should know. And it manages to bookend itself with Sam making a strong step in overcoming his loss. There's some clever integration of the seasonal story arc, some tight direction. The final shot of Sam seeing a vision of Jess as they drive out of town is really well done. It looks like a dang movie. So yeah, not my favorite one, or one I think of all that often, but it's fun enough. I can see them stretching to do more with less material, where later on they try to do as little as possible with cosmically massive plot lines. It's hard not to turn this into a didn't this show used to be cool show, but this is entirely me reacting to seeing it again. It's exciting to me to see the show be competently directed. There's a shot where they know and we know security showed up because like a headlight passes behind them, and it's just like they had to think about an elegant way of doing that other than cut to cops arriving. There's a shot when they go to the library that's probably a complete accident, but there are these like god rays falling from the ceiling, which I imagine just the director was like, hey, that looks cool, let's film that. And even that is exciting. It did look cool. When it came on, I was like, hey, this looks cool. That's a cool shot. I don't know why I'm getting so upset about it. It's still got atmosphere to it, and they were swinging for things. Missing sometimes, but swinging. Now that X-Files episode I mentioned earlier. Mamma mia, talk about a dinger.
Do I look like Paris Hilton? I really don't have time for this right now. So what'd you dream about?
Lollipops and candy canes.
It's good advice.